I'm at that point where I think, okay, it's ready to uh, bow off the stage, leave them wanting more. All right. Don't make any left-handed movies. Don't make any movies for the wrong reason. Don't muddy up my filmography with a bunch of out of touch old man movies.
I've been doing this for quite some time, okay? I don't want to sound like a geriatric veteran, but I have seen an array of social media reactions depending on how bad the content is across years. I've seen the audience froth in the mouth with anger, hurl abuses at mediocrity handed to us. I've seen the same audience disappointed due to the high expectations of the marketing material. But what I noticed post the release of Sikandar among all fans, not only die-hard Salman Khan fans, was just a unanimous sadness creep in. Almost a reluctant submission कि यही है life and और क्या expect कर सकते हैं. Even the most optimistic people just felt so defeated on the lack of effort, structure and basic aspiration towards creating just an entertaining movie experience. The reason why I started this video with the Quentin Tarantino statement was because this is a director who wants to hang his boots with a 10-film filmography. I want to stop at a certain point. Directors don't get better as they get older. There are a few exceptions. Usually the worst films in their filmography are those last four at the end. I am all about my filmography. And one bad, three good ones? I don't want that bad, out-of-touch comedy in my filmography. The movie that makes people think, oh man, he still thinks it's 20 years ago. When directors get out of date, it's not pretty. He also said, I don't believe you should stay on stage until people are begging you to get off. And I like the idea of leaving them wanting a bit more. This made me think about the same sentiment towards sportsmen who are way past their prime. A sentiment that is quite active and justified regarding MS Dhoni today and his presence in the CSK team in this season of the IPL. And what hits a little closer to home regarding a sport I love, which is football. I remember Jamie Carragher stating this when talking about Casemiro and Manchester United. I apologize that I keep on bringing up football references for movie analogies, but he said that leave the football before the football leaves you. Something that many aged players have been mindful of in the latter stage of their career, because you never want to be the old man living off of the prestige of your history while you clearly see young folk around you merely tolerating your presence, knowing very well that you are a shadow of your former self. This is true for content creation also, by the way. There is going to be a time where the audience itself shows a lack of interest on your perspective on anything. And the moment it is clear with the numbers that are at display for everyone to see, you should yourself take the hint of pivoting towards something else. This made me really think about directors like Puri Jagannath and Ram Gopal Verma, directors who were absolutely game changers in their respective industries, trailblazers in so many ways of the style and structure in which they presented stories. And when you see their films in the latter stage of their career, you only reminisce about the good old days. You feel like that they have become jaded, being adamant to give multiple interviews and have an analysis towards the sorry state of films in the current landscape, but not really contributing themselves in changing the tide. While there seems to be an epiphany that Ram Gopal Verma has recently experienced and is planning to come back with a bang, there are many cases of actors overstaying their welcome, coasting through their career due to the prestige and celebration of their movies at their prime, in turn also making creative decisions that ruin their legacy. Something I believe that Salman Khan is experiencing currently. Nobody wants to remember Salman Khan as the exhausted star merely sleepwalking through movies like Radhe, Kisi Ka Bhai Kisi Ki Jaan and Sikandar. Everyone wants to hold on to the entertaining memories of Dabangg and Wanted, of his cheeky humor, charm and naughty smile in Hum Aapke Hain Kaun and Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam, of his sincerity to the craft and characters in films like Bajrangi Bhaijaan and Sultan. This is something that often happens with celebrated stars, and I wanted to reference their examples. Some of these stars pivoted in the most pragmatic way possible, but some sadly became known as never getting the hint at the end of their careers. Rajesh Khanna. If they say that Hindi cinema ever saw a superstar, a reign that was associated with hundreds of offers, blood-soaked love letters, and absolute star worship, it is in reference to the aura and celebration of Rajesh Khanna and what he experienced in the late 60s and early 70s. Rajesh Khanna was never considered to be an exceptional actor, but there was an aura and charm to his roles that hugely resonated with the masses in India. But as the baton gets naturally passed to someone, Amitabh Bachchan with Zanjeer had become the star to be reckoned with, and Rajesh Khanna infamously said that the indicator of his stardom fading was when the flowers stopped coming to his bungalow. When you see the movie choices Rajesh Khanna was making in the latter stage of his career, movies that include Wafa, A Deadly Love Story, and Riyasat, films that can genuinely be termed as B-grade soft films, it's embarrassing and sad that a legend like Khanna had to even resort to that kind of work. Amitabh Bachchan. The reign and rise of Amitabh Bachchan was absolutely inspiring. The poster child of the angry young man, the man was ruling the 70s and 80s like no one else. His towering presence, his baritone delivery, his undeniable aura, something that films even today are trying to emulate. Amitabh Bachchan also had a reality check to deal with when returning back to the movies after his failed stint in politics. He said that it was naive for him to believe that he could leave the movies and assume that the audience would be as interested in seeing him as they were at the prime of his career.
It's very egoistic to suddenly decide, I'm taking a break for 3 years. It's wrong. It's a wrong kind of feeling to have. Every day you learn something in front of the cameras. And to just say, I'll take a break for 3 years and then come back and assume that you're going to be in the same position is a fallacy.
If you were to especially look at his films in the 90s that included Insaniyat, Mrityu Data, Major Saab, and especially the cringeworthy Lal Badshah, there was a unanimous sentiment on how Amitabh Bachchan was not getting the hint of his time having passed. Requesting Yash Chopra for work while financially dealing with crores of debt with his company ABCL, this is a star who acknowledged the tide shifting and pivoted his career into supporting and more age-appropriate roles, and having thrived in the industry ever since. This is the same pivot that Anil Kapoor acknowledged early on and benefited from not believing that he is the same leading man from the 80s, acknowledging one's position and then acting on it while pushing aside one's ego is the smartest decision both the actors made.
अगर ये दिमाग में रहूँगा कि मुझे ऐसे ही रहना है, मेरे को हीरो ही रहना है, मुझे ऐसे ही करना है, मुझे नॉन कंट्रोवर्शियल करना है, तो मैं पीछे रह जाऊंगा.
Dev Anand, one of the iconic faces of the three Murti of Hindi cinema through the late 40s and 50s with Dilip Kumar and Raj Kapoor, Dev Anand had such a charismatic screen presence. The man had an undeniable swagger and associated himself with extremely compelling storylines too. And this reign carried on till the early 70s. What's sad, however, especially if you were to see the time period in which his son was being launched in the 80s and Dev Anand took over the role of a director in the latter stage of his career, was that there was a lack of acceptance of his filmmaking style, becoming extremely dated. Amir Khan still looks at Dev Anand's directed Aval Number, in which he starred, as his biggest regret, for he only associated with the man due to his legacy. Dev Anand in embarrassing movies like Censor, Love at Times Square and Mr. Prime Minister not only directed but starred in these films, hamming his way through unintentionally funny storylines, making die-hard fans hope and wish he is surrounded by people who give him a hint that he shouldn't embarrass himself with such projects.
तुम्हारी मम्मी नहीं रही, स्वीटी डार्लिंग.
क्या? मम्मी?
Mithun Chakrabarti and Dharmendra. This is a duo that had an insanely successful run at the movies for many decades. Dharmendra through the 60s and 70s and Mithun through the 80s. However, both of these actors really dealt with engaging and acting in movies that could be best described as B-grade shows in the latter half of their career. Mithun Chakrabarti was a part of what is termed as Mithun's Dream Factory. Essentially, to concentrate on his hotel business, Mithun shifted to Ooty in the 90s and only shot films in the locality. This would be cost effective for film crews as they would stay in his hotel during film schedules. This led to Mithun featuring in movies almost every month, movies that were largely ignored by the film industry in Bombay, and honestly, if you revisit them, they are atrocious to say the least. This is an industry that Dharmendra also engaged in the latter half of his career. I mean, if you were just to see movies like Loha, Gunda, Munni Bai, Aag Ka Tufan, Jallad No. 1, there are countless examples making people wonder, why legends like the both of them even felt compelled to be a part of such terrible films. Zeenat Aman, the legendary actress, has had a tumultuous personal life and career. Being the it girl through the 70s and 80s, the actress with Praveen Bobby won the hearts of the audience. However, with the patriarchal setup of the film industry much worse than what it is today, the female actors find themselves in a consistent predicament of always being replaceable versus their aging male counterparts. What Zeenat Aman experienced while supporting her family with her marriage was a break from work for close to a decade through the 90s, and when she returned, there was only crass and sleaze available for her to act in, making her return with the 2003 film Boom and going on to feature in several embarrassing ventures. Thankfully, having a new lease in her career today with her advent on social media and acquiring several brand deals today, but it's safe to say that it wasn't smooth sailing at all. Gracie Singh. Imagine having a career that early on in your filmography features movies like Lagan, Munna Bhai MBBS and Ganga Jal. You would assume that this is only going to catapult your career and ensure at least a reign of a leading lady for close to a decade. No one had such a solid start to her career, but Gracie Singh saw her transition towards mediocre cinema in such a rapid fashion that I genuinely had never seen something like this in the industry. An actor who immediately featured in films that people may not even remember today, and the final nail in the coffin was featuring in the 2008 film Deshdrohi with the dashing star, a spitting image of Brad Pitt, Kamal R. Khan. One doesn't realize this, but association with such B-grade films often creates a perception, and Gracie Singh just never returned to the big leagues, toiling her way through terrible cinema in the 2010s and eventually leaving the industry after her stint as Santoshi Ma on television. Urmila Matondkar. Growing up through the mid-2000s, I have to tell you that if there was an actor from Hindi cinema who absolutely frightened me, who I believe was taking the craziest risks from a creative standpoint, was Urmila Matondkar. She would be starring in a movie like Kaun and Bhoot, and in the same period also feature in compelling dramas like Pinjar and Maine Gandhi Ko Nahi Mara. She showcased a range of playing a psychotic girlfriend in Pyar Tune Kya Kiya to a timid and naive girl who becomes full of vengeful rage in Ek Hasina Thi. However, I have no idea what happened after the mid-2000s, because Urmila, the same actress with such versatility, just started featuring in terrible films. The worst of the lot being her hamming her way through the Himesh Reshammiya starrer Karz, almost acting as a final nail in the coffin, and disappearing through the 2010s, making me genuinely curious about what really happened. Govinda. There cannot be a list where we're talking about actors ruining their legacy without talking about the co-creator of Avatar. I mean, especially for those who grew up in the 90s, audiences have such fond memories of the man, of laughter, of joy, of even dramatic flair. They don't lie when they say that there was no one like Govinda regarding comic timing, regarding such ease and choreography and expressions, and there are several theories, conspiracies and speculations regarding what went wrong, but it is undeniable that something significantly changed after the mid-2000s. The Hindi film industry tried everything in their might in ensuring his return, with films like Bhagam Bhag and Partner, but Govinda's pursuit to be the leading man continued. The industry tried to present him in different avatars, in an underrated film in the 2010s like Happy Ending 2. However, the comeback just did not materialize. Govinda in the last few years started featuring in throwback music videos on tacky sets and giving interviews of denying Avatar. And that should never be the legacy of such a talented star.
Like, you have to shoot 410 days. I said, sounds good. But if I'll paint my body, I'll be in the hospital.
And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below, what are your current feelings regarding Hindi cinema? Do you feel sheer anger, or it's just disappointment at this point? Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle is right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.